Hello, my lovelies. Jenny O here, the author with no last name. And last week, Friday, buried on their blog, Star Stable's co-game director, Stacy Place, now made the now annual, I guess, year in review, look what's coming type of article. And there has been a few more tidbits of information dropped on Instagram, including an Instagram story to go with the article by Game Master Yelva. So I want to go over this due to the 2021 article having a checklist that is mostly, well, unchecked. This is not a scheduled video, so we'll get to Johan's advice on Thursday. Remember, I feel that if SSO wants to be taken seriously as a game in the gaming space, then I'm going to treat them like every other game and give them the same coverage. That means that SSO Corporate might not like what I have to say. Before you all start accusing me of being a negative Nancy, even as I mostly report on the news as they give it to me, let's give Star Stable credit where credit is due. The new Winter Village actually looks rather nice. The blues all match, the ice jumps are now my favorite aqua color, and the icy snowflake particle effect on the races is really pretty. I do enjoy all the rustic looking decorations, both in the village and around Yorick. And then on Twitter, Ismael Serrano, a worker at SSO who works on the servers, posted an update about some technical behind-the-scenes stuff they were doing at SSO. So he says they have a new system that makes the updates more reliable and they are validated. They're revamping the scripting language to catch bugs, and they've revamped the internal editor to MFC to Qt. Qt is a rigid toolkit for creating GUI or graphical user interfaces, the same thing SSO is running on. They are moving away from C++ to this other programming language because they want to be run on multiple platforms, including mobile. So, yay. He also says they hope to start putting these tech updates in the news. That'd be really helpful. So, good on Star Stable. On Wednesday or Thursday last week, SSO PR started to respond to players asking questions about various updates that were promised or hyped for 2021, with news that Stacy Place, the or just game director, who was going to do a post at the end of the week about updates and works in progress. Well, then they buried it on their hard to find and next to unused blog and didn't put any links directly to it on their social media. Here, have a Yorick shilling. They titled it Year in Review, Setting the Stage for 2022. And then didn't go over 2021 in review, which is probably good because horses, open up the last of the Wildwoods, updated trip, horses, revamped one area essentially, and one event area, events, and horses is not really a great look. The first thing they did go over that didn't make it from the 2021 checklist, where they were revisiting the character model and promising to get character feedback from the players, is the first look at the character update concept art. They have a new game producer, aka new team manager, probably whoever replaced Stacy, asking a bunch of standard game development questions. And then she says, "We want to push the look and feel of our characters forward with inclusivity and diversity leading the way." Apparently, inclusivity and diversity is now the latest core value at SSO. Stacy is quick to point out that this is concept artwork. Nothing is final and is subject to change. So they're showing 4 face shapes, which I swear are just the 4 Soul Rider shapes, 9 to 19 skin tones, and 7 body types. And given the way their closed systems work, the bust size is probably going to be determined by the tops you wear because the tops are your body for the SSO game character. Then they show a bunch of natural black hairstyles, some more practical for helmet wearing than others. We are just as excited as you. Okay, this is group language to make the readers feel that the developers of SSO are just like them. And it tries to discourage any type of critique because you don't want to hurt their feelings. They're just like you after all. I don't really have anything to critique here. This is a decent range of body types. It's only concept art though, and players want more customization than just face shape. Critiquing concept art is useless. It could end up on the floor. Then Stacy moves on to the other thing they said they meant they were going to do in 2021 and hints at the way the story is going to move forward. A certain distinguished lady deserves a makeover for her freshly completed racetrack, right? So this implies, on top of the Dark Riders, they are going to redo the Baroness's character. I would hope they would also grab Godfrey, Judy, Tira, Pauline, Lynn, Agnetha, and Bjorn as well, but I'm not holding my breath. This would also mean doing Carney, Barney, Marley, and Courtney Summers too. Please? Steve should also have a makeover. I mean, if Gary gets a makeover, why not Steve? Oh, and the Silverglade Councilman? And after 10 years, and going into 11, the Baroness is finally going to get a finished racetrack. Does this also mean we're getting rid of the oil rigs as well? Too many questions. Not enough answers. Too little. Whew, too late. Then they show a group picture of the revamped Dark Riders. And this is when things start to go off the rails. Because apparently, now the books are no longer canon. You know, the books they put out in 2020 and 2021, and another one in 2022 to flesh out their new canon and lore, these designs are absolutely what I'd expect of a company who is pushing diversity and inclusivity as a core game value. In the Starshine Legacy games, of the known Soul Riders and Dark Riders, the only person of color was Linda. The landscape of games and publishing has changed a lot since 2005. The best way you do this is by putting in new characters. Because now, by changing all these characters to people of color, we have an white people, Anne and Alex, one African British in Linda, and a mixed race Latina, who in most lights is white passing in Lisa, up against the evil people of color. A French Moor, an African, and I don't actually exist coloring, who is dressed very similar to a Native American, or in a sack dress with Sami elements, and closely aligned then to a POC representation, or an indigenous culture representation, and an Asian child who could also be white passing. In a rush to include diversity and inclusion, they completely missed the colored people bad stereotype optics. They had been adding in some great bi-POCs in their other NPCs. Take Rihannan, those in the Wildwood Rangers. Sahar. I'm ignoring the opponent POCs because they aren't actually good examples. They could have taken those characters in the Druids and the Rangers and made them more important to the story and kept the Dark Riders' original designs. Then it's the mixed race team versus the evil white people. And no one cares if white people are evil. White people aren't considered a racial minority or oppressed. Maybe that's why they killed Elizabeth, in order to add more mixed race into the good team with Rihannan, because it was an incredibly white between the Soul Riders, Elizabeth, and Herman. Plus Evergrey, and we're assuming Avalon is also right. The whole varied ages of these generals, as well as, well, one response I saw somewhere was, so SSO is advocating violence against children now? Visual recognition for older players and those who read the books is a thing. These are good character designs. These designs are fine. They are eye-catching. They are colorful. They have different sizes and shapes. The only one that can remotely stay is Katya, who is reminding me of the one girl from the Umbrella Academy, and she does invoke her old character, sorta. She needs a bit of aging up, and maybe less Native American elements to her costume. You can make a sack dress without it being POC inspired. The rest do not fit these particular characters. The reactions I've seen range from, I love it, to, I can't take these circus clowns seriously. And it's really hard for me to believe when Game Master Ylva says the Dark Riders are her favorite characters, when she and the team decide to pretty much change everything about them. The constant change of story and lore and character designs are driving people away. If you came to SSO for the story and love the story and aren't technically an equestrian, there is no reason for you to stay with a story that's now on its third incarnation and has no bearing to the story you fell in love with. If you care for a story perspective, check out Eleanor's Nightwalker's video, So, the New Dark Riders. One Tumblr user who has professed they could fix SSO's lore. Same user, same. They made a joke about how SSO's lore book was a sticky note written with purple glitter ink that said IDK LOL, and then they lose it at least once a month. An actual SSO game dev responded with a picture of said sticky note encrusted with the plastic sticker jewels, and an extra note to say the lore book had been lost for 2 days. Take it as you will. I find myself a bit disgusted. The original poster found it funny, but in light of random employees writing quests on a team that does 2/3 of the game's updates according to Stacy and Johan, I don't find the joke aging well. If Starshine Legacy isn't canon, and now the books aren't canon, what is? The books Helena wrote for SSO are still receiving awards. The Every Child a Reader nonprofit runs the Kids Book Choice Awards in partnership with people like the American Library Association, Kidlit TV, Epic Reading App, and Parents Magazine. And the first book of their Soul Riders trilogy won the Best Fantasy World Building Award in ages 12 through 18 against people like Suzanne Collins and Cassie Clare. Now, given she was working off of what Star Stable had given her, I'm not sure how much credit really goes to Helena. Still, congrats, Helena! I've dug into the site a little bit, trying to figure out how these books are chosen. There doesn't seem to be any submission form on the site, just tools on how to share the awards and how to vote and, well, the winners. Then I went and looked at the board, and it became clear. Penguin Random House, which the publisher-distributor Simon & Schuster, who distributes the Soul Rider books as part of the publishing group, is on the board, along with Scholastic Books and National Geographic Books. The publishers are nominating the books for the board to choose from, and then the board promotes them to the kids and parents through various marketing funnels, including the Parent Magazine and no doubt the Epic Reader app. It's not kids doing the choosing. It's probably publishers looking at sales and ranking numbers and divvying things up into categories. At least this time we can see what other books they're going up against. And whether or not kids know the Soul Rider books had lore created by Star Stable and Helena was translating it into story format is debatable and immaterial. Now that Jessica is Jay and the descriptions of Sabine and no doubt Jessica no longer apply, the books are highly doubtful to be canon to the main game. So they've scrubbed Starshine Legacy for the books to now scrub the books in favor of diversity and inclusion. Okay, right then. I'm so sorry, Helena. I feel any author pain you do. I hope you got paid well. Let's also note the time frame they're talking about doing these characters. So it looks like they are taking 3 months to rig and animate these characters each. I know they are saying they're also doing the Baroness, and the characters get at most 4 distinct animations outside of riding and walking. Yelva said in his Instagram story, the Dark Riders are done except for the technical stuff, which I'm assuming she meant the rigging and animation. They are modeled and textured. We know it takes them 2 months to do a horse, and most of these dark horses are retextured horses outside of the hobby horse, and if they reanimate them, it shouldn't take them an entire 2 months. Sure, they're getting special tech, which better come to the game or else it might induce more in-player rage. We have a lot of player rage going around. I mean, when the December roadmap came out, there was a video called Star Stable Lied up within hours. The GMs are fanning it. Game Master Esme was asked on Instagram if they could do less horses and get more quests. She professes it doesn't work that way, because according to her, what takes you 10 minutes to click through, 20 to 30 minutes if you read everything, lol, takes 3 to 6 weeks to build and put together. So let's do some math. Asmi says it takes more than one person to create these quests and include a game designer, artist, and animator. So let's add one more person to write their level year 1 dialogue skills, and we have a 4-person team working on quests. So if it takes 3 to 6 weeks at 32 hours a week, because they have work on what you want Fridays, supposedly, then it takes 96 hours to 192 hours per person, so 384 to 768 hours to come up with 10 to 20 minutes worth of clicking. 384 divided by 10 is almost a week's worth of work by 4 people full-time for 1 minute of fetch quests. Ride here to there and follow things on the ground gameplay. So, they made Sahar, 6 new Caprins, the parts of the Broken Runestone, and the animations and particle effects for putting it together for the new Wildwoods quest. There was a lot of rehash, and nothing else that was new. But Sahar and the Caprins should have been from the other team. I don't know if the system is that bad, or they are that disorganized by essentially 40 hours of work for 1 minute of gameplay across 4 people. Somewhere, something needs to be reevaluated. Or Esme is leaving off that they're being diverted onto other things during those 3 to 6 weeks, and they aren't clocking their time to each specific project they're working on. I do hope it's the latter and not 384 hours across 4 people to do this, because that is insane. And now they are saying it will take them upwards of 3 months to rig a character and do 6 animations? That's another 384 hours, folks. I cannot make this shit up. I can't. Wow. I don't think they actually timesheet out their projects and how much time they spend on each project to do appropriate costing. I don't think they actually know how much time this takes. And I know doing these types of timesheets is a pain in the buttocks because I've done them. And I also imported them into systems for job costing in payroll. But to get accurate cost of labor and materials is more divided in the cost of software licenses and wear and tear on servers and other hardware. You have to accurately log time to each project, or else you really won't have any idea. And since they have an outside company doing their Google translation works, apparently, even for the Swedish translation now, that's services. Labor, material, services, all with a markup to account for overhead. Costing is so much fun. I have nightmares about forgetting to log my job time progress on both my time card and my jobbers, and about forgetting to clock in and out of work, and turning around and turning back and not finding a tool I left right there 2 seconds ago. I just hope this 3 months takes into account putting them into the Dark Riders into the initial quest, because good grief! I don't want to try and apply this to the player character body types. I don't even want to project a timeline on them. The article wraps up by saying Anne's story is going to be continued next year, and they're going to introduce yet another new character that supposedly, if we followed them other places, we might know about already. Interesting. Not a peep on anything I've seen. And then she says it will take time to get back to the Dark Rider story in the game, even though they will hopefully have them all rigged and animated by June. There are exciting plans in place, but we don't want to rush to get there without making it a meaningful experience. Okay, I can read this 2 different ways. A meaningful experience for us with interesting gameplay, or a meaningful experience for them, the devs. My charity is at an all-time low, so I'm assuming it's more about them than us as players. Listening to Game Master Yilva trying to say Sabine coming out next year is a good thing because that means they get to spend more time with her as a creative reinforces this notion they are making a meaningful experience for them and not the players. Because despite the backlash and the way the community is turning extremely negative more and more vocally, they don't seem to understand they are out of time. There's no time to build a meaningful experience for us, the players. They have steamrolled past that point in November, In the original main quest article where she went, "We haven't had a dedicated quest team recently," and the various game devs on the team going, "Oh, we've been writing quests," and their Tumblrs are on Instagram. Or Esme trying to make it sound like a good thing she works on quests, races, doing events, and bug fixes. Of course, Esme also put out publicly she thinks Jurassic World's DLC is too expensive for the game it is, when she's working on a game that costs between $60 to $70 USD for lifetime, and has horses that cost $30 each every month in batches of 6 or 7. And compared, I'm sure, to Jurassic World, Star Stable is at early access or beta quality. I'm sure Jurassic World players can do a lot more with that new dino than we can do with horses in SSO. Then Stacy says they're going to take a break for the holidays and stay tuned for more updates. Honestly, I don't really feel like we've learned anything. The character update is still in concept art phases, which, given how long they've been talking about it, is unconscionable. They didn't communicate clearly until now the Dark Riders were going to come next year, so the players have every right to be mad. At least, we finally have a clue that the quest lines players have been asking to be completed for over 7 years now are finally going to be continued, unless they change their minds, or there's more problems in development. Someone put out there on Tumblr, they think we aren't getting new quests because SSO wants to update the old character models as they add new quests. This is a valid theory. Of course, if SSO really cared that much about the older character models cluttering up Silverglade area, they'd redo them all in one fell sweep. Stop doing horses for a couple months since it sounds like the characters are that team, and put some effort towards doing all the NPCs. And the way Game Master Europe was going, "You don't know how cool it's going to look with the new characters, not the poopy old ones. We want the new ones." In the Instagram story, yeah, theory confirmed. Then Yova does something about, you know that feeling you get when you have to wait to get new assets because it's going to be awesome? She basically winds up with telling the player base, yet again, to be patient. There is no patience left. The patience has been squandered due to poor communication. Overall, Stacy's article and the Game Masters on Instagram are upbeat but tone deaf, and is adding fuel to the fire among older players. SSO seems to be hearing, but they aren't listening. What can we do as players? In my Discord, we've been talking about this, and one good idea has come out of it. Next year, we, the players, stop buying horses. You, as players, can go about this in 2 ways. You cannot buy horses at all. Hashtag don't buy horses SSO 22. Or you cannot buy any of the new horses they put out next year. Hashtag no new horses SSO 22. If you have better ones, tell me in the comments. And tell your friends. Spread the word. This is just the start of how we can make noise to put pressure on SSO to change. The art and animation and design people working on horses can actually work on things like character designs and modeling, animations, and quests. They do not have to be working on horses. The only way to get SSO to stop making horses is to stop encouraging them to keep pumping them out every month by stop buying horses. I know some people might have a hard time with this idea. That's why there are 2 modes to this. Don't buy horses at all, or buy horses from 2013 to 2021. There are lots of horses in SSO to buy without having to buy star coins to buy the new horses right now that are going to be in the game forever and a day. I mean, I can understand wanting to buy the magic horses if they really appeal to you. You know, try to use your allowance if you can. I think the magic horses need to be 2 weeks in Moorland and then form a horse market around Gary in the Wildwoods. It gives players reasons to unlock the Wildwoods, or reasons to buy things, that is. Buying horses is not giving us, the players, new game mechanics or new game story. It's not giving us the game aspect of the game, or new content which extends the longevity of the game. Vote with your wallet and stop giving them money. They made $44 million in revenue last year. The article doesn't say if it was gross or net, but if it was gross, I calculate as a former office manager on the accounting side of it, they have had at most $16 million in overhead. That means $28 million net profit. And so that means $28 million of that $44 million could have been invested into hiring new people, like narrative designers and game system designers, restructuring their teams, payroll increases to hold onto people, and put into software and hardware to make the game better optimized and thus run better. Where did it go? Probably to stockholders. And as long as the players keep giving them money, they're going to think what they're doing is okay. An incomplete, buggy game without good gameplay mechanics and small patches every week is not okay. Next month, Rattle, Eleanor Nightwalker, Becca, Amelia Cloudwatcher, and I will be doing a premiere long-form podcast-style chat, most likely on Rattle's channel, about Star Stable. Something more informal than our usual scripted videos. Those of us who have YouTube. More information as I get it. Watch this space. Given 2021's article, this article is probably a lot more feasible than the 2021 checklist. Is next year of Star Stable going to be better? Will they come through with Dark Rider story and updates on their progress with player character update? We'll see. They've really scaled back what they're saying. We need to be on the lookout for the Baroness and her racetrack update and the Dark Riders. It doesn't give me any hope. They have basically admitted they are over 6 months behind on any long-term roadmap they had. Too many excuses and too much bad information and overhype for too long. I don't know how you feel. Tell me in the comments below. Opposite opinions are valid. Personal attacks will be reported. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves, bless, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.